let's talk about panpsychism. So, Philip, you have become a very prominent advocate of panpsychism. Let's first of all explain what. So, my sort of probably not very sophisticated notion of it is that consciousness is in everything in one degree or another. Is that kind of what panpsychism is?
Knocking my microphone over, getting too excited. Yeah, I suppose that the basic commitment is that it doesn't necessarily mean that literally everything is conscious. The basic commitment is the fundamental building blocks of reality, perhaps fundamental particles, perhaps universe-wide fields, have some kind of very, very rudimentary consciousness, and that human and animal consciousness somehow emerges from that.
Wait, let me see if I understand what you're saying. So you're saying trees have consciousness.
So it's
rocks have consciousness.
No, not necessarily. Yeah. So the fundamental building blocks, let's say for the sake of simplicity, fundamental particles like electrons and quarks. But a panpsychist needn't think that every random combination of particles is going to be conscious in its own right, like your socks and your rocks and stars and planets. I'd be inclined to think that there's only limited conditions in which conscious particles come together to form a system that's conscious in its own right. And we'd look to the kind of theories, empirical theories Ned was talking about earlier, to help us decide what those conditions are.
Why do you think there is consciousness in these, I guess what we would call, not brain-based entities?
Because we face a theoretical, and we cannot avoid this theoretical choice. Do we put the physical world first and try and get consciousness out of it? Do we put consciousness first, try and get the physical world out of it? Or do we take both? I think the first option, the materialist option, nobody has ever made the slightest bit of progress on its central explanatory task. No one's managed to at all explain how you're going to get consciousness out of purely physical processes. The second option, the panpsychist option, I think it has been shown how we can do it. The problem is essentially solved. And here I think this is the influence of Bertrand Russell, I think should be seen as the sort of Darwin of consciousness. Certain important work from the 1920s, I think he essentially showed how we can account for the physical world in terms of deeper underlying facts about mind or consciousness. So we've essentially got an answer there. Dualism, I think, is a coherent possibility, but as scientists and philosophers, we try and respect Occam's razor. Why believe in two kinds of things when you can believe in one? So I think that pushes us towards the first two options. So, materialism we've never made the slightest progress on, and I think there are good arguments that it's in some sense incoherent. Panpsychism is simpler than dualism, so that's the view we should go for.